Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to be giving you my number 40 through 31 of my top 50 games of all time. Blood Rage. Now, I had Rising Sun on the list before, and I just like Blood Rage better. I think because it's a little bit simpler, and because of the card drafting, I think those are the two things that I really like better about this one than I do Rising Sun. I think this one is sort of a purer version of Rising Sun. Now, card drafting. In Rising Sun, you buy the cards off the track, so you see what's out there and you have the option of buying those things. In Blood Rage, you get a hand of cards, and it's the similar type of cards with your unit upgrades, your monsters, your different abilities, your ship upgrades, all that different stuff comes in a hand of cards, and you're not sure what you're going to get every turn. So you're trying to, as you pass the cards, build a good force. And as the game progresses, you replace those cards and add new cards that sort of evolve your gameplay as the game progresses. And I really like that one better. I think also Blood Rage plays better at all player counts. I like it a lot at 3. I like it at 4. I like it at 5. So I think whereas Rising Sun played better at higher player counts, this one kind of covers the gamut. The purity, the card drafting, and the player count is why I love Blood Rage, why I think it's a better game. And you can't beat the miniatures in the box. I just happen to like Norse mythology, so I think this one just fits me a little better than Rising Sun. The GRIZZLED. This game is such a surprise because it's a simple card game in which the theme is that you are in a band of brothers, of brothers in arms in World War I, attempting to survive the war. What I love about it so much is that it is such a heavy theme of like you have this attachment to your brothers in arms, and you're fighting with them, and you're trying to survive an extremely difficult game about World War I. It's such a heavy theme, but they managed to make the production still fun and still have those feelings, the gravitas of the feelings that you would have in that kind of situation. And I think a lot of that comes from the artwork. The artwork is gorgeous. It's a little rough, like it's like almost like a European comic style, and it's beautiful, but yet has a little bit of a sadness to it that really lends itself to the theme. The gameplay is great, and I absolutely love it. It's a cooperative game that's really hard, and that's what I love. But it gives you those emotions of stress and frustration and a little bit of sadness when bad things happen to your brothers in arms, particularly with the mental issues that can be applied to your characters that'll cause you problems during the game. It really does feel like you're working together as a team of people who love each other and just want to survive. So fantastic card game. The GRIZZLED, wonderful. City of Iron. This is my absolute favorite game from Ryan Laukat and Red Raven Games. It's one of his older games, and the reason I love it so much is because it's one of his heaviest games too. There's just so many things to do in this game. It's funny because it's a game about building an army and a game about war and essentially controlling territory, but really the game is just about generating resources and points for those resources, because all of those territories that you control will generate those resources. And so there's all kinds of things. It's deck building. So you're building your forces through deck building. There's a big track on the middle of the board where all of your resources are being produced based on the territories you control. You can conquer cities, you can conquer territories, you can build new, war machines through that deck building. There's just so many options all over the place. It's a rather complex game for Ryan Laukat, and that's what I love about it. It's got a lot of depth of strategy, a lot of replayability, and of course, Ryan Laukat is, I've said it before and I'll say it again, he's a Renaissance man. He does everything. He does game design, artwork, graphic design, publishes the game, runs the Kickstarters, everything from beginning to end, and that makes his game special to me, because it really does feel like a passion project as opposed to a product. I love Ryan Laukat and I love his games, and City of Iron is my absolute favorite. Scythe. Scythe has become a new classic. I see it played all the time, even today. I mean, it's about 2-3 years old, and people are still going bananas for Scythe. Expansions continue to come out. The new one is a legacy expansion to play a campaign. What makes this game terrific is the fact that it is about the best example of a hybrid of Euro and American style game, thematic style game that I've ever played. It's dudes on a map marching around, giant mechs fighting, but you have worker placement with your meeples, you have resource collection and management, you have upgrading your abilities and your action spaces. Wonderful mixture of two awesome styles of game. This game is pretty much a game for everybody. If you're like a hobbyist style game and like these deeper style, more complex style games, this is a game that has created a bridge between the Eurogamer and the Ameritrash player. And I love both sides. So it's awesome because I could go either way with any kind of player and play this game. And I think the action management concept of taking the action, you can't take that action again, you're going bouncing back and forth on your player board, really is what makes this game special, along with the hybridization of the game styles. Scythe is a classic, and there's a reason it's a classic. It's a fantastic game. Robinson Crusoe. This is the perfect game, really. I mean, it may not be my favorite game of all time, but honestly, what it is it's a deep, cooperative game that is very difficult about surviving on a deserted island. And the different scenarios have different things like cannibals or, ghosts or the volcano or whatever they are, but you're on a deserted island attempting to survive. The game mechanisms are so clever and so well done that story emerges with every play, and every single play feels a little bit different and a different story is told. The way that the survival elements come out through, having to collect resources to construct things and construct your shelter. So when the weather comes, you can handle it, dealing with the predators and the animals on the island. All of that is fantastic, but really the best part of this game, and I've only seen recently that other designers have started to use this concept, is that something happens to you, an event of some sort, like say you fall out of a tree and you twist your ankle or something. You take that card and you put it into the deck. And when that comes back through, you use the second half of the card to see why that event affected you later in the game. So this really makes things feel alive in the game. This game feels alive to me. It evolves with the play. As things happen, there's consequences to those things. Choices you make, there's consequences later in the game. It's a beautiful game. Beautiful, beautiful game. It's very difficult to get into because I think it's a very complex game. It's a little bit hard to learn, but once you get into it, and if you keep those rules in your mind and continue to play, it's a really enriching game. One of the best games ever designed. Robinson Crusoe is wonderful. Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. I love that this game is on my list, because if you would have asked me 6 months ago, a month ago, this game would not be on my list because I did not like the 2nd edition at all. I never liked Arkham Horror. I just didn't dig it. Well, this game comes along, and really, it's not even Arkham Horror in my mind. It's a completely different game. All of the game systems have changed. It is the same theme as your investigators in Arkham in a Lovecraftian world with the great old ones of Cthulhu and all of them coming after you and doing things on the board. But this really changed it from just a whimsical run around and things happen to you game to a full cooperative game where you have to work together, you have to look at the board state, and you have to decide amongst the players where people are going to go and what people are going to do. The locations have logical things that happen at them, and every single card you draw has some kind of story on it, even its mundane story, like the Officer Dingus or whatever his name is comes in and he has something to say or something to do, he trips over something, whatever. Even if it's a mundane story, there's a story playing like you're in the city of Arkham while all these horrible things are happening. It's just a pleasure to play. I love it. I love Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, and I'm so happy that it's gone from one of my least favorite games to one of my favorite games in this short a time. Warhammer 40,000. Now, I'm talking about the 8th edition here. Now, I've played Warhammer 40K for quite a while, and the 8th edition came along and really made this game fantastic. The way they've streamlined the game to make it easy to get into, the way that they've started rolling out new models and things. Games Workshop had some troubles in the past, and they have come back in force to be one of the coolest game publishers there is. And Warhammer 40,000 is an example of the great things they're doing these days. What I love about the game, miniatures game. This is not a board game. This is a full-on miniatures game. I love collecting miniatures. I love the hobby aspect of it, building the miniatures, painting the miniatures, then playing with the miniatures, and even the fun of trying to assemble a force that will beat my opponents. You know, you play with a guy and you lose to them, and you study their list, and you go back and you alter your list so that you can be more competitive. This is a game that does not end when the game session ends. It continues while you're by yourself, thinking about the game, thinking about the miniatures, thinking about your army construction, your strategies of play. I don't think there's many games out there that have a miniatures game's depth of strategy and planning. And it's just an all-encompassing lifestyle game, and I love 40K. It's great. And the world of 40K is crazy cool. If you get into it and you start to read about it, boy, is it fun to learn about. So Warhammer 40K, one of the best. Detective, a modern crime board game. Another one from Ignacy Jevicek here in Portal Games. He outdid himself with this one. I love games that tell stories, and that's what Portal Games' motto is, board games that tell stories, and this one does it like no other. Man, this is a game where I can sit down for 4 hours to 6 hours with my friends and just experience being out of my body and in the body of a police detective investigating some sort of mystery. No other game is this immersive to me. When we sit around the table and we talk about what's going on, and we go into the crime computer and we're putting in evidence and we're finding connections and we're seeing that, oh, you can Google that. So we Google it and we find out some history that gives you dates that help you with the story of the game and how the story rolls out. Even if the story isn't as exciting as Cthulhu attacking the earth, it might be just some mundane crime that you're not really all that interested in. The way the story rolls out, like a police procedural on TV, it's just so well done, and it's such an engrossing experience to play detective. If you get the right group together that's really into doing almost without even thinking about it, role playing your character, this game is the game. I love it. Detective is one of the best. Conan. Now I'm biased with this one because I absolutely adore Robert E. Howard's stories about Conan. I've read all of them. I love them. I've read them all multiple times. And this game really captures the essence of what Robert E. Howard was doing with his Conan stories. There's a lot of Conan games out there, and none of them really capture that. And this one does. It's a great tactical miniatures game that's story-based, scenario-based. You're running around, you're fighting the Picts, you're fighting the city guards, all kinds of different things, giant snakes, all sorts of monsters and things. And there's so many different scenarios you can play, and all of them feel a little bit different. And the base box has so many different maps in it that you're going to feel like different every time you play it. It's just a great little scenario-based tactical miniatures game with some neat story elements. The characters are fun to play, and the Overlord is so much fun. I love the concept of the river. There's like this board that has all these tiles in it. That's the Overlord's bad guys. And if you activate one, you put them at the end of the river, and they slide up. If you want to activate that guy again, you have to spend more to get him because he's further down the river. You have to wait for him to get up there, so he's cheaper. So it's such a clever way to do it. This game is one of my favorites of this genre of game, this sort of dungeon crawly, survival, attacky, tactical miniatures game. And Conan is fantastic. Chaos in the Old World. All right, so this is number 3 on the Eric Lang in my top 50, and it is actually my favorite Eric Lang game of all time. This one falls into that bucket of Rising Sun and Blood Rage. It has similar game mechanics to Blood Rage in Blood Rage. In this one, it's something else I don't remember off the top of my head, but basically you are the old gods of the old world in Warhammer fantasy. And it plays very much like Blood Rage, but I just like it better. I like the concept of being able to cast spells that go into the territories, and that affects how you play. I like the diversity of the races, the different units that you can get with your races. As you upgrade them, they get better. I just think this one has such a cooler feel. I just wish that there was a version that had better miniatures. As a matter of fact, I've often talked about how I want to assemble a custom version of it where I go out and buy all of the Games Workshop miniatures that go with this game and replace the miniatures with those and make a gigantic board. I love the game that much that I'm willing to spend like $500-600 on miniatures just to recreate this board game in a big version with awesome miniatures. It's not in print right now, so it's very difficult to get. You probably have to pay a lot of money to get it. Hopefully someone brings it back around again, because this one everybody should try. If you love Blood Rage, you love Rising Sun, this is my favorite of the three. All right, guys, well, that was part 2. Come on back for part 3 tomorrow when I give you my next 10.
Thanks so much, everybody. If you've enjoyed this video, please do us a giant favor by subscribing to the channel and clicking that wacky bell icon. If you're into board games, miniatures games, role-playing games, we have a bunch of audio podcasts you might enjoy. You can find those at thesecretcabal.com or on iTunes and Stitcher.